Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer John Hyatt. John, thanks so much for joining me.
Great to see you, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
In his second term, President Trump is now on his first major foreign trip, and that is all over the Middle East. The major takeaway of this trip is that he's more focused on making deals rather than any type of foreign policy objective. And you're reporting that Elon Musk has a similar goal. He's there for a similar reason. At a lunch in Riyadh earlier this week, President Trump and Saudi officials were joined by top business leaders, including Elon Musk. So to start off the conversation, were you surprised to see Musk joining Trump on this Middle Eastern trip, at that lunch, making deals, in deal-making mode? What's your perspective here?
I wasn't surprised at all. Elon Musk has been a central figure in the Trump administration since January when Trump took office. And although Musk has taken a bit of a step back in the last couple of weeks as he's pledged to reduce his involvement in DOGE and to get more involved at his companies. Despite that, this was a big sort of foreign policy push from Trump, and Elon Musk has a history of doing deals with the Saudis, and it was a big U.S.-Saudi business conference with other CEOs and billionaire investors. So it was only natural that Elon would be there, making himself known.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that timeline between Elon Musk and the Saudis? Because you're reporting he made a deal at this forum, but the relationship between both parties wasn't always as amicable. Walk us through it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, so Elon Musk did announce, or rather a Saudi minister announced during a chat with Musk that Starlink, the satellite internet service run by SpaceX, would be coming to Saudi Arabia to provide internet service to the maritime and aviation industries there. Musk also hinted at robo-driving Teslas coming to the kingdom soon. So perhaps more deals are on the horizon. But as you say, Musk's history with the Saudis goes back years now. It really dates back to 2018 when the Saudi Sovereign Investment Fund, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, PIF, started to build a stake in Musk's car company, Tesla. And they had built a stake of close to 5% of shares. So not enough that they had to disclose it, but it was widely reported on at the time. And whether or not it was true, Musk and the Saudis apparently were engaged in talks about the Saudis helping to take Tesla private. This was something that Musk was interested in because there were a lot of short sellers of Tesla at the time, and he was really frustrated with some of the limitations of running a publicly traded company. And so Musk infamously tweeted out, funding secured to take Tesla private at $420 a share. He later commented that, the Saudis were behind that. The deal was not secured. The funding was not there. The deal unraveled, if the deal was ever going to happen. The SEC sued Musk and Tesla, and ultimately, as part of Musk's settlement with the SEC, he had to step down as board chair. It was a big sort of event for Musk and Tesla. The Saudis later sold their stake, and Musk said that he probably wouldn't take money from the Saudis again, following the killing of the Saudi dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi. But all of that has changed in the last couple of years. The Saudis have become big investors in XAI, and it looks like there are more deals between Musk and the Saudis on the horizon.
Why has that changed in the past couple of years? Because just a few years ago, Elon Musk said, I'll probably not take any Saudi investment. Obviously, that's changed considering the announcement this week. Why did both sides change their messaging on this?
I think it suited the interests of both parties. For Musk, as he's been building this kingdom of companies, these private firms like X, Twitter, which he took private, his artificial intelligence startup XAI. He's needed to attract capital to help finance those businesses. And in addition to the venture capitalists in the U.S. that he's tapped for money, he has increasingly sought money from abroad. So not just the Saudis, but from other investors in the Middle East and across the globe, which we can talk about. And so, for Musk, it's sort of a broader embrace of foreign capital and specifically Gulf capital for his companies. And for the Saudis, we saw during the first Trump administration that the Saudis knew how to reach Donald Trump. They knew how to flatter Donald Trump and how to improve U.S. Saudi relations. And I think, they saw what was happening with Musk, how he was drifting further rightward, how he was starting to embrace Republicans, as well as just the fact that, Musk is such an important pivotal figure, not just in U.S. politics, but really in global politics, with Starlink, which operates internet around the world, with Tesla, one of the major EV companies in the world, and just as an increasingly influential voice on X. The Saudis saw that Musk was an important person that they wanted to cultivate a relationship with and to repair that relationship. And so the sort of first step that they took was helping to finance his takeover of Twitter in 2022. And this was interesting because a Saudi billionaire, Prince Al Walid, who has close ties to, the ruling family, Crown Prince MBS, he was already one of the larger minority shareholders in Twitter when it was a public company. And so when Musk took the company over, he could have sold his shares as part of that takeover. Instead, he rolled those publicly traded shares into the new entity X and remained one of the larger minority shareholders in that company. So helping Musk get the deal done, essentially. And then since then, the Saudis have backed through that same company, Kingdom Holding Company, run by billionaire Prince Al Walid. They've helped back XAI. Now, of course, X and XAI are part of the same company, XAI Holdings, and they are one of the larger minority investors in that firm. And so it has been striking to sort of see how, initially they wanted to deal with Musk, then they fell out. But as Musk's wealth and power has continued to grow, the Saudis have said, okay, let's actually build a relationship with him. And we see that it's already been paying dividends.
I now want to look throughout the Middle East, aside from Saudi Arabia. Qatar is also a country that made some headlines this week with reporting that they are gifting President Trump and the administration a $400 million Air Force One airplane. What about the Qataris? Are they interested in Elon Musk and investing in any of his companies?
Yeah, so similar to the Saudis, the Qataris also wanted to get on the Musk train. And it looks like they first did that in a big way with Musk's Twitter deal in 2022. The Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund contributed $375 million towards that take private deal. So, they got in Musk's good books with that deal. And then since then, they've invested money in XAI, helping Musk finance the construction of this AI startup. And they've also done some interesting deals with Musk as well. So not strictly investments, but partnerships. Qatar Airways, the state-owned airway company, which is now, of course, under the spotlight because, as you pointed out, they're involved with President Trump with this big gift, and apparently they're now promising to buy a bunch of Boeing jets. Qatar Airways struck a deal with Starlink last October to basically introduce internet on all of Qatar Airways flights, which, fair enough. I mean, United Airlines has also struck a deal with Starlink to do that. So there is real utility in Starlink internet. More curiously, in January, Qatar's Sovereign Wealth Fund struck a deal with a little-known drone light show company called Nova Sky Stories. The reason this is interesting is because Nova Sky Stories is run by Kimball Musk. This is the brother to Elon Musk and one of his closest confidants, a shareholder in Tesla, board member of Tesla, as well as in SpaceX. And the terms of this deal were not disclosed, but it's clear that Qatari money is paying an undisclosed amount of money to Kimball Musk's company, so it will perform light shows in Qatar for the next 2 years or so. And one imagines that this deal might have not gone through if the company was not run by Kimball Musk.
What about the rest of the Middle East? Are any other deals between Elon Musk and any entities over there really piquing your interest?
Yeah, so two of the I don't want to say smaller players, but maybe less politically engaged on the geopolitical scene players of Oman and Kuwait, also major Gulf petro states. These two companies, sovereign wealth funds, have also invested in XAI. So, similar to the Qataris and the Saudis, they're also helping to bankroll Musk's artificial intelligence company, which has raised over $12 billion in the last year. So really ramping up investment to build that supercomputer, which is powering Grok, the large language model that we all find available on X. And so, they're a bit more peripherally involved. Then, of course, you have the United Arab Emirates, notably Abu Dhabi and Dubai, the two big ones. They have not invested in XAI like the other sovereign wealth funds. However, an Abu Dhabi fund has invested in SpaceX, so they are shareholders in SpaceX. And just a couple months ago, they clinched a deal with Musk's tunneling company, the Boring Company, which is the least successful of his privately held startups. This was a project that he sort of made into a company on a whim several years back when he was reading about the power of tunneling and how this could massively reduce congestion. The Boring Company has raised a lot of money, but it hasn't done much. It only really has one project, and that's in Las Vegas, and it doesn't actually provide that much utility in terms of reducing congestion. But that hasn't stopped the UAE from signing a deal with the Boring Company to work on a project in Dubai. Again, similar to the Qatari deal with Nova Sky Stories, the terms of that deal have not been disclosed, so we don't know what sort of what that project actually looks like. Interestingly enough, though, it looks like Musk has eyes on a similar deal between the Boring Company and the Saudis. During his fireside chat with the Saudi minister yesterday, he did float the idea of, hey, don't forget about the Boring Company. We do great work. And so he seemed to be kind of hinting at, hey, Saudis, maybe check out what the Boring Company could do for you.
We know that Saudi investors have deep, deep pockets, and the investments we're talking about right now between Elon Musk and the Middle East are just massive. Are these Middle Eastern countries wanting to work with Elon Musk because of his companies, because of his business prowess, or perhaps because he has now waded further into politics? He has Donald Trump's ear, he's one of his senior advisors, his work on DOGE. I mean, what does that really shake out to be?
I think, yes, all of the above. I mean, you make a great point. These are massive, massive sovereign wealth funds that these states, while small in population, have amassed through their production and sale of oil. These funds are in the multiple $100 billion scale funds, if not trillions, in the case of the Saudis. And actually, Oman has a $1 trillion wealth fund. So they can make these bets in Musk's companies, which make a material difference in the cap table of these firms. They go a long way towards helping Musk achieve the fundraising and business objectives that he has, while also being a drop in the bucket for those funds. Now, to your point about why, I think you're right. It's twofold motivation. One, it's economic. These funds want to generate returns. They want to do well and make money for, the kingdoms. And Musk has a history of generating returns for shareholders. If you look at Tesla, if you look at SpaceX, if you look more recently at XAI, these are firms that have grown under his management. And despite his controversies, he has a record of generating returns. So, they definitely want alpha. But I think, especially over the last year, as Musk has gone full MAGA and has become this incredibly influential figure in the Trump administration, they have every motivation in the world to make Musk happy, to put money in his pockets or the pockets of his companies, to do deals with his brother, to give contracts to the Boring Company for projects that may or may not happen. And so, why not? When you have so much money sloshing around, you could put you could put it in stocks, or you could put it in the pockets of the richest man in the world who can call up the president anytime, any place, and talk his ear off. So Politically and economically, these investments make sense for the Gulf countries, and it's sort of a different way of doing diplomacy. I think, to get to your point at the beginning of this conversation, what does diplomacy look like under Trump 2.0? I think more so than 1.0, it really does involve business. And obviously that comes with allegations of cronyism, of corruption, of conflicts of interest. But I mean, Trump doesn't seem to care. And I don't think Elon Musk does either.
And I want to talk about that even further here because correct me if I'm wrong about this characterization. Is it fair to say President Trump went to the Middle East with deal making in mind, diplomacy on the back seat, if it's even on the back seat? Elon Musk tags along to make some deals with, not with President Trump. He tags along President Trump's trip, making deals in the Middle East. I mean, with any conversation when it comes to money and when it comes to politics, there's always that gray area of, is there a conflict of interest? I mean, is there a conflict of interest here? How big is that? What are experts saying?
The conflicts of interest are evident for anyone who's watching. I mean, you look at the Qatari gift of a massive $400 million Boeing jet to Trump, and Trump is trying to brush it off. But even Republicans are saying, look, this is a massive conflict, not to mention the potential security concerns of accepting this jet that has potentially been retrofitted by, a foreign power in ways that, the U.S. might not pick up on. Sure, the conflicts are there. The conflicts are obvious. I mean, Elon Musk is running several multi-billion-dollar companies with their tentacles in countries all around the world, while he's also shaping policy for Trump. And so the conflicts are there. I mean, the Washington Post recently reported that Starlink is even being used as a leverage point for countries trying to not be exposed to Trump's tariffs. So, I mean, countries are already picking up on the connections between, well, if we make Musk happy, maybe we can avoid the wrath of Trump's tariffs. But, I think Trump would say, yes, this conference, this trip, this is about business, this is about deal making, but that's also diplomacy. I think it's a different take. It's the Trump take on what diplomacy looks like. And I think he drew this out during his speech in Riyadh yesterday, which was that, look, I'm not your neocon Dick Cheney type who wants to save or install democracy in your country. Look at how much wealth you all have created on your own, in your own countries. You don't need us telling you how to run your political systems. Let's do deals. Let's make money together. Let's create these partnerships. And that way we'll create peace through financial partnerships, through business developments. And of course, it wasn't just Elon Musk who was there, right? Sam Altman was there, head of OpenAI. Jensen Huang, head of NVIDIA, was there. I mean, tons of large CEOs, billionaires were part of this event, which was also, the U.S. Saudi investment conference. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Trump's sort of diplomatic mission was paired with that business event. For Trump, business is diplomacy.
I mean, a phrase that has been stuck in my head really since the plane story came to light is there's no such thing as a free lunch. I mean, is there such thing as just a free $400 million airplane with no strings attached? Is there such thing as massive deals for Elon Musk with no strings attached? Has Elon Musk responded to any of these potential questions about conflicts of interest? Has he said anything to that effect?
Yeah. Just because there aren't explicit quid pro quos involved doesn't mean that there aren't conflicts, right? Even the appearances of conflicts of interest create conflicts of interest. And so, it's doubtful that Qatar is saying, take this jet in exchange for X. But by giving the jet, they're automatically going to, turn Donald Trump favorable on them. And, when they're having discussions about diplomacy or about U.S. Middle East relations. Obviously, Qatar, too, has had its own strife with its Middle Eastern neighbors, as we saw a few years back when there was that big brouhaha between it and the Saudis and UAE. So, it's good from the Qatar perspective to just make the president happy because, a happy U.S. president means that they're probably going to get happy outcomes.
Well, John, I always appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time.
Thanks, Brittany. Talk soon.